go to public places like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, that's
people
kind of
not.
what I was.
People. Yeah, so that's exactly what he's doing. People don't like it. We end up having to lock all the doors, and just limit his space of recording. You know what I'm saying? So that's exactly what's going on. Just want to go. Don't want to lock down. Just want to go.
Okay. All right. It sounds like, at least from the message, it seemed like he was claiming that a security guard put hands on him, and he may want to push that issue.
I never put hands on him.
Okay, you never put hands on him.
When my manager had told me to unlock the door, I put the door, and he was like basically trying to push me.
Not that it wouldn't be in your purview.
Yeah, trying to push me, and I was just.
Well, it wouldn't be.
No, I did not put hands.
It would not
on him.
be.
Yeah.
There's no lawful reason to lay hands on somebody that's not being violent and is executing their right of freedom of speech and press.
I understand that. Cool. Well, we'll see which way he wants to go with this, and then so you just want him off property.
Yeah, that's basically. They say they don't want him locked up.
Right.
Sir.
Yeah, they just want him.
Yes,
just
sir.
Want him just remove him off the property. Okay.
As a citizen and a witness to everything that happened, that I know the Constitution. I encourage you to know it too. That if you do ban him without any,
I'm not here to ban him or anything like that.
Well, that's what I mean. What they're doing is unlawful. So
okay. And if you feel that way, that's between you and them.
No, it's between you and your oath. So all these, we have the right. This is just the Constitution of Virginia, but you know the First Amendment is freedom of press, and I know we live in a generation that's very different than like when the Constitution was first written. But just somebody's ability to just, and other courts have ruled previously that anybody recording in public officials, public employees doing public actions.
And I don't believe that their issue was anyone recording. That was your guys' issue with someone recording, or was it with someone creating a disturbance, someone raising their voice?
Kind of both. It was just the
Well, if I may, the disturbance was the reaction to, because again, if he's got a constitutionally protected right, and I mean, God is witness, I don't personally know him. I just know this is good. This is what you're bound to protect and uphold. And if they who are employees and federal money is going to them to establish all of this, I was trying to keep the peace and help them understand that what they're doing is unlawful. Because if they're discriminating against him just for the fact that he's in a public area, as far as I can tell, he was not violent. He's not using profanity. He's been incredibly polite.
This was exactly what he was doing. He was upstairs, knowing it's like it's smaller upstairs. So everybody's walking, and he's just like this. Everybody's walking.
Is that unlawful?
I'm coming in the okay. I'm coming in. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing that. So that's why they told me to call the police. Then they told me to lock the doors, which that happened.
But I encouraged them to look at what the Constitution is, and even was talking to the supervisor. They did not give me their names. They were even me, like just the fact that I was even standing up for the right.
They know each other. He came in yesterday asking the same questions a lot. He did this yesterday. They know each other.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely know each other.
That's fine, and that's
you're
irrelevant.
lying, though. You're lying. You need to have evidence of what you're saying. Just because I'm asking similar questions, again, I have a knowledge that you do not have. That doesn't make me better than you. But if you're going to accuse me of knowing this person when you have no evidence or facts of that,
he's been doing this all day.
Yeah. Would you mind terribly just going back inside, so that we don't have this kind of back and
I
forth?
got you.
I appreciate you.
Okay.
but as a citizen, I would encourage you to encourage those who are employees here.
Sure.
To not suppress
Yeah, I'm
the
the
rights
senior
of the
director
people.
center, but I'm just getting to
I
work, so that's
totally
all.
am sympathetic to that. Totally am sympathetic to that. At the end of the day, what I would just like to resolve this peacefully. I would like everyone to resolve this peacefully. If you feel that they have violated your civil rights,
that is going to be kind of between you and them. As far as
for sure, in a court of law, I understand that, but
yes,
but
as far as
our civil rights, my civil rights were definitely violated today. But I would say there was also a crime committed here today that I need accountability for. I was explaining to the other your officer over here. Can I just get your name and badge number? I'm sorry, sir.
It's Officer Martinson, 36092.
Okay. Yeah. So, officer, the security guard has no right to put his hands on me and assault me, and that's what he did. And as a citizen, I am.
were you harmed? Was there?
That's not the way the law works.
The Code of Virginia doesn't have a separate battery charge. There's
But
not
the riot act does. If
assault and
somebody's
battery.
blocking
They're
somebody
together.
unlawfully from a public accessible
No,
place.
he pushed me, but
Yeah.
it's on camera. And like I said, assault and battery. I'm very well familiar with assault and battery charge in the state of Virginia, and it 100% applies here. Even if you don't hit, if you have to put somebody in reasonable apprehension of fear, that's the way the statute's written. So if I just cocked back and I was going to hit you and I didn't, but I put you in fear, that's still an assault. So by actually hitting me and putting me in fear and of my life and bodily injury, that is 100% assault. And as a security officer, not even you as a law enforcement officer, no one has the right to do that to anyone, and I want him held accountable.
Okay, so what would you like from us at this point?
I would like you to charge him with
So
assault
yeah,
and
so
battery.
I can't charge him right now, okay? Because what
Of course
from
you
my
can. But if I did it, you would charge me.
Hold on, because
no,
he wasn't
that's
witness.
not what I'm saying at all.
Okay. Go ahead.
I would, if the roles were reversed, I would give the exact same explanation that I'm about to. Okay.
Sure.
So,
Listening.
At the end of the day, I have one party who says that he was assaulted. Can you present me with any physical evidence of an assault?
I have it on
Put
camera.
on the camera.
Okay, but as far as on your person right now, you don't have any touch bruises or anything like that.
But you asked
Now,
me
as a citizen of Virginia, you have the ability to take out charges, misdemeanor charges against any other citizen in Virginia. Okay, we will get the security guard's information for you, and you will have the ability, since it's a misdemeanor that didn't happen in my presence, you'll have the ability to take out that charge yourself, going to a magistrate.
But if you're seeing it on video, it is. I've dealt with this before, officer. Can I? You know what? Can I please speak to a supervisor? Thank you. I appreciate it, officer. Thank you.
27-20 or 40.
If I just may make a request prior to me leaving, it's just to have the information of the managers here.
I think I can get that.
Because as far as you know, what is the procedure if there is a public employee that is not acting lawfully, or like what's the civil way instead of going the criminal route? What's the civil way to handle a government employee not performing their duties?
At the end of the day, it'd kind of be the same process,
The criminal
except
one? Okay. Unfortunately, yeah.
unfortunately, it would pretty much almost be the same.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Because I know
I promise you, if I would have done that to him and he would have told them, they would have immediately put me in handcuffs. No question. I guarantee you. But when it seems like they're all in line, it's kind of more of a protective thing. Like, oh, he's security, so it's a little different.
well, that's what I mean. Like part of this.
No one's above the law.
Part of this Constitution. What's that? Thank you. Part of the Constitution is to actually disperse knowledge. And so, from my perception right now, I just believe the security guard is acting very ignorantly. He is very sincere in his belief. He said some lies, which is true, and I think unfortunately the footage will show that. But he's under the sincere impression that he's just doing what he's told. The managers have told him to get this guy out, and therefore he's kind of being the again like.
Like a middleman.
Yeah, the scapegoat a little bit of just, again, he's not acting completely right, but I believe the real responsibility is on those managers who are shutting down the entire, like this gentleman, shutting down the entire career works just to us two because we're pointing out what he's doing is unlawful. Because this is not, you can't just shut a public facility down. There's no threat. He's not been violent. Neither of us have weapons. We're not cursing. We're being, as far as I can tell, incredibly reasonable. There's definitely tension. But that in and of itself is not a crime. That's not a reason to lock down a public facility.
So just like my partner said,
Can I just get your name and badge number now, sir?
Been the same route. So if it was the other way around,
The card?
we would have exchanged information, and then somebody could have gone down to the magistrate and pulled the charge.
I like avoiding that because I think if people get educated, like people, the court. I don't know if you've been involved on the opposite side of the court stuff, like dealing civilly or anything, but it could just be a mess. It's wasting everybody's time. It's wasting court resources. So trying to solve it at the source, where if you do know the Constitution, where you can help inform the public and those who are public servants that, hey, it's your duty to maintain the liberty of the people that are coming in here, whether you like it or not. Like, you're taking federal money. to do what you're doing. So therefore you have a contract. You cannot breach the contract. They may not have taken an oath, but you guys definitely did. And so that's why, like, I remind you of the surety bond that you have as well, that, and I can show you, like, this is the Constitution of Virginia. If there's a maladministration of the government, or where they're found, like, not doing what they're supposed to be doing, that's the only reason I'm here. I have a duty and obligation as a citizen that has rights and responsibilities to try to address things. If they're doing that to him, or anybody that's doing that, they're going to do it to everybody, and therefore you can't let evil just do whatever it wants. You have to confront it.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. Awesome.
I'm gonna go talk to this security guard and get his information for you.
And the managers that are present, please.
Hopefully there's some surveillance footage in that lobby area too.
Yeah, the most, I mentioned it to him, most concerning thing I heard was they were referring to people as customers as opposed to just neighbors, citizens, people. And I think that shows some kind of, like, it's just a wrong mindset. Because I don't know, like, I didn't pay anything other than the tax money I'm already paying. So I think the relationship is not just that I'm a customer or anybody. It's the fact that we're citizens, like we're people that are looking for help. He's exercising his liberty and his right to be able to do freedom of press. I understood what the woman was saying, that it makes people feel uncomfortable, but as far as I can tell, again, I wasn't with him the whole time, I just can testify to what I actually saw, is that he just went into this public, like, little lobby area right here, and he was just scoping around, and I was trying to explain to them, like, ultimately, he's got, I learned after talking to him, he's got thousands of people on his YouTube channel. Today and yesterday, this is like the people down at the day center of, like, I'm from Virginia Beach, like the people need to know this information. And I think just like ignorantly getting in the way of the dispersion of knowledge when he's not doing anything unlawful is just creating a whole bunch of confusion that's unnecessary. Because whether, like, again, if he's got the right to do that and ultimately he's just showing what the facilities are, I think that there's no reason to be banning people from the property and trying to trespass them and forcing them. Which, granted, I mean, even now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure he did put his hands on him to move him out of the way, because it all happened pretty fast.
Okay.
Because otherwise, like, how are you going to shut the door unless you push them out of the way? But are you all Norfolk police?
Yeah.
Yep. Do you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just, I am curious, like, do you all have training for like the Virginia Constitution? For the sections of the Bill of Rights? Yeah. Do you remember any of them off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head.
Because I think those are the things that...
We have like a whole week and a half, or it's like a week and a half of law, constitutional law, all that kind of stuff.
Is it per year or like...
No, it's just out of the academy.
Okay. Oh, like the first, like before you go actually out on the street? Yeah. See, I think putting that stuff in remembrance would be incredibly valuable.
And everybody, at least I can attest to, some of the other guys, is that everybody studies up on their own case law. Somebody, we do our own research out on the street to keep ourselves updated. And we do get, if I'm not mistaken, we do get emails about like things that are getting updated throughout the year and stuff like that. So.
Do you all have the ability to have copies of that kind of stuff, like in your cruisers? Yeah, I would encourage that. I don't know. Like, I've dealt mostly with law enforcement in Virginia Beach and Portsmouth. I was talking to an officer at Portsmouth that said they don't even have up-to-date copies of the Virginia Code. So it's really just basing things off of people's memory and understanding of it instead of the actual letter of the code. But I think stuff like this will happen more because I think, like, anytime there is even a chance of corruption, think ultimately, like, the darkness doesn't like the light. So it, like, the tendency of, like, biblically speaking, like, the beast is to clench up and growl and kind of punish, as opposed to reasonably, like, and that's what I saw. It's like there's just they were accusing him of not being cordial or telling his name. He politely gives his name, and then they're just like, we don't want to hear it, get away from me. And that's where I think civilly, like, true peace would be making sure there's no division, trying to bond people together. Of like, hey, I know you're the manager here, but the better, more responsible thing would be to speak.
And here's the information for the security guard. And then here are the managers. This is Cozy Burgess, who's the district manager of the area. Okay. And we're the store. Providence, who works here, who's a veteran manager. And then Phyllis Clemens, information on here. She is the branch manager.
Okay. Perfect.
And our like I said, supervisor.
So you're really saying that if I pushed, maybe you're telling the truth. I'm just saying. I want to say you're saying that if you got called, that I would call for security. You come here and you can tell you that I pushed the security.
I would not make an arrest at that. I would get your information. I would give it to the security guard, and have him, if he felt so inclined, take out charge.
But what would be the point of passing law enforcement? What's the job?
Well, we have the ability to report misdemeanors that are not in progress. We have the ability to arrest for misdemeanors that are in progress, and I mean.
But you also have the ability to go to a judge, right? You have the ability to go write a statement. I know how the law works in Virginia. You have the ability to go write a statement, right? I write a statement. You take that statement. You write your own. You take it to a magistrate, right? And you get a warrant for the person's arrest. Couldn't you not do that?
I mean,
you take a statement from me. You go get the warrant. You come back and you effect the warrant.
Yes, but generally speaking, with misdemeanors not in progress, that's not how we handle it.
Even with another witness?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. For simple assault not in progress, that is not generally speaking, that's not.
So if
how
I
we
understand
handle
what you're telling us, if because you weren't witness to it actually happening in front of you, even
Correct.
if there's multiple witnesses stating it,
And
Correct.
and video.
Correct.
Well, he hasn't seen the video as far as I know, but
Sure, he hasn't seen it, but it exists.
yeah.
Yeah, and certainly that will help you in court. And certainly,
Oh, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
I think, I'm a big believer in law and order and accountability, and I just think that kind of policy
if
is kind of crazy. You're basically saying, hey, and I'm not blaming you in particular. Also, I'm just saying, the message you're saying, given to the public is, hey, listen, I got witnesses that say that a man assaulted you. You say he assaulted you. You say you have video evidence. I'm not going to take a look at any of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to go and you enforce justice. The victim, right? The victim is supposed to enforce the justice by going to, and that's your job as law enforcement, is to enforce the law and protect the public from people who are breaking the law. So it seems kind of backwards to me that you're saying, hey, listen, I know that what he did to you, I understand what you told me, I understand what a witness is telling me, and I understand that you have video evidence that I'm not even asking to look at. But you can go to court and charge him yourself. That doesn't seem like a proper law enforcement officer response to me. It seems like more like, hey, you're on your own type of deal, right?
I understand that, but that is generally how we handle these things.
Can I ask
That's
you a
why it's for
question?
supervisory.
Yeah.
Sure.
When it comes to, because I wasn't present for any of the further conversation that you had with the managers and the security guard here, did they allege any crime that was committed, that he committed?
They did not allege a crime, no.
Okay, but
And that is why I haven't compelled any identification from you at this point.
Right, but we are, I think to me it's more of digging into the, like I was explaining to the security guard, the more fragile violation, like, yeah, nobody's getting murdered, but if there's a violation of a constitutional right, that me, all of us have the right of freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, both in the U.S. Constitution and Virginia Constitution. So if an organization that is funded by federal dollars is breaching that, violating it, to have, as far as I can tell, like, did you have that conversation with them to help educate them and that they're not able to do that? Even if they're security guards, even if they're managers of, or directors or any kind of title, they have no authority to actually grant them the permission to violate a citizen's rights. That has not, again, like, no crime was committed, no, he wasn't being violent. There's an allegation of disruption, but I, as a witness, I would allege that their actions caused the disruption because they're blocking the public entrance to this door, they're shoving him out of the door and shutting the door, locking it. Those are the kind of things that I think, again, just as a witness to the entire situation, I think education is the better way, because I would rather keep it out of court completely. Like, it doesn't have to be a judge that has to adjudicate and punish somebody, but to really have the law enforcement of, like, hey, help the security guard know that if your manager is telling you to violate somebody's constitutional rights, it does not give you the authority because your manager doesn't have the authority to do that.
How are you?
Yeah, well, admittedly, I'm not a constitutional scholar by any stretch of the imagination, but at the end of the day, that sort of high level.
Well, it's basic. That's why fundamental. Like, it's the foundation. So if you're trying to do something like even this, like these things are built on that foundational constitutional law. So if those inalienable, like, because I have it here, because Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging, which means like diminishing the freedom of speech or of the press. And then in the Constitution of Virginia too, like, the source of power is vested in the people if it's not. So that's why, like, I do have the right and essentially the authority in this station to be able to call to account what's going on, because there's a misappropriation of their administration, what they're doing with federal tax dollars, which I don't think you have to be a scholar to see that. Like, I don't know, I would encourage you, whenever that video is available, to watch it and just to judge where I counseled him too, like when he was when the security guard was like forcibly shutting the door on him and getting him away from the door, that I was telling him, like, well, just like, if they're going to do that, they're going to make that choice, you don't want to get physical with them at that point.
Certainly, and I agree with that assessment.
Is that a sergeant?
That is a sergeant, yes.
Sergeant. So the 3 bands is a sergeant?
Yes.
For my record, do you mind if I get the names of the security guards and the managers?
Would you mind terribly just getting it from him?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested in following up. So if there's a police report or number or anything, like cards or anything that you could provide.
I can give you the call for service number.
Call for service number?
Yeah, that shows that we came out here, and I'll have the text of what we were called out here for. Would you like that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Hey, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
Hey, good. Can I talk to you over here for a second? Can we stand in the shade? Because
Absolutely.
okay. I'm very fair skinned, so I will burn. What's going on?
So I without being too long-winded, I came here yesterday. I didn't even know this place was here, so I was seeing a lot of the different resources. I do a lot of ministry work down at the ocean front of Virginia Beach.
Sure.
I was at the Housing Resource Center yesterday, so I was seeing all this. I was like, wow, this is great stuff. Like, nobody knows about this. I'm seeing a lot of people just sitting around waiting in Virginia, in the day center at Virginia Beach Housing Resource Center.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was here and I was asking questions just like, yeah, who's in charge of the marketing? What's going on?
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
And so anyway, I ended up, before I left yesterday, I was at the end of the day printing out some documents, and I made an arrangement with the manager, a woman that I said, hey, I know I'm printing more than the 10 allowed pages, so I'll just come back tomorrow and I'll give more, like I'll provide the paper and more, just because I think that's good for the community to be in a giving and receiving. Like I'm receiving the resources here, you're letting me use the toner. So anyway, so I came back today, bring the paper. I put it in my car already, but I grabbed some other resources to work on, and I gave my card to some of the employees here, just to like, yeah, I think this needs to get out. And they even used the words of like, this is the best kept secret. This Virginia Career Works is now it's like a new branding where they're not. So anyway, a lot of details there that I was trying to like search out and figure out what's going on. So anyway, so as I'm doing this, the gentleman with the camera came in, and I saw people kind of clench up a little bit, and I'm familiar with, like, I've seen some of this stuff online.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, like there's an audit, like he's doing a public audit of the services, and then so knowing everything I know, it's like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
I didn't see him doing anything unlawful, anything illegal. Like he was literally in this. Have you been in here before?
No, this is.
So
I didn't know this was back here myself.
yeah. So if you go in here, there's like a public.
Can we go in there?
Sure, it's right here.
Oh. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, okay, this building right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Hey, how you doing?
So when I saw him.
Oh, excuse me.
Sure.
Here, back again.
Hey.
Yes.
Did you find it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Hey.
Okay, I'm gonna get it.
Oh, what was it that you needed?
Hey,
to send?
I want to
What
call.
was it?
Let me call
Okay,
you right back.
Get you signed in. What's your first name?
Okay, bye.
Jeffrey.
J-E-F-F.
All right, so I see you guys later.
R-E-Y and.
Let's
That way
go.
we're not feeling under scrutiny.
Sure.
But yeah, I can see how it's laid out. Anyway, that way we don't feel like, we're
Sure.
being.
So yeah, I was standing kind of close to the desk.
Yeah.
I think he said Sean, I think it was his name. So Sean came in, and he was literally just right here near the tables. Like he didn't even go back into the hallways or the cubicles or anything. And he was just doing a slow panoramic. And so I saw the security guard, and so I was explaining like trying to explain like what he's doing is not unlawful. Like he's in his right to be able to do this in a public area. And I could tell them they were getting tensed up, or telling people to move out of the way, like people don't want to be recorded. And so then the woman came. It was the woman and the gentleman, which did not give me their names. And I saw the woman had a name tag, but I didn't catch what it was. She was covering her face. So I was talking to them out here.
Yeah.
And so I was just having the conversation with them. She was explaining like, well, don't you think if he's the press, don't you think it would be better, like the right way to do it would be to come and let people know you're coming, prepare. And so I responded by saying yes, that would be great.
That would be
But
ideal.
Ideal. But he does have the right, because this is a public, federally funded program, that if he just wants to come in randomly off the street, he has the ability to do that. And therefore, because you were in a situation with, and I was explaining, just like God's recording everything anyway. So, and I was trying to say that to Sean too, just to keep him calm in the situation, so that he was not. Because at a certain point, like, yeah, they shoved him out. Like the security guard specifically, like the tall gentleman with the glasses, he was like, lock the door, get him out. And I was just counseling him, like, that's not the right way to go. And they they pushed him out. Sean kind of held the door handle, and he was resisting. And I was telling Sean, like, just, hey, if they're gonna make that choice, just don't get physical with them. Just walk away.
Yeah.
Just let it. He's got it all on camera. You don't want to get tempted into doing anything unlawful.
Yeah.
So they put the two banners like in front of the door. They locked the door. and then I saw they were still letting people in. So they were literally just me by association for speaking up about our rights, and him for being the one recording, just locked down the entire building. And then they're telling us, like, I was asking, like, can I come back in? They're like, no, we're closed. And then their actions were completely violating what they had said, because then they're letting people in the back way. I came out here, I was encouraging the security guard, just digging a little bit deeper. He was saying he's just doing what he's told.
Yeah.
So his manager told him, and I was just encouraging him, like, well, you want to make sure that what they're telling you is lawful.
Right.
So I was saying, if you have a cell phone, I encourage you to pull out the cell phone, look up what the Constitution is. Like, we have an inalienable, protected, fundamental right of freedom of press. And while the authors of the Constitution may not have thought that everybody would be press with a cell phone and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, this is kind of where we're at now. I'm just realizing, like, it's probably going to happen more, and I think the better way to go would be more educated about it, so that you're not just clenching up and causing a disturbance just by banning people from the property and letting other people in. And so that was where I realized, okay, I don't know the security guard's name, but he was denying that he even pushed him. So it's like, okay, he's getting defensive, because I think like he doesn't know really what he's doing, other than, like, he doesn't know the Constitution. He's not educated on that. He's not understanding the fundamentals of the law. So to me, the issue, I tried to talk to the manager. Because it's like, hey, this came from you. He would not tell me his name. He was not being polite with me in terms of, again, he's not cursing at me, he's not being profane. He's just a coldness and a just like cold shoulder, not going to talk to you. Like, so that was where I was like, that's wrong. Like, that's the main reason why I stayed, was to just bear witness. I didn't want that. There's multiple of them. They're all kind of in league, so I didn't want him to get ganged up on just for the fact that he's doing something that is making people feel uncomfortable, but is a federally protected right. So that's where I was like, okay, everything I've seen, I can't speak to what he was doing upstairs. Just based on his behavior, his demeanor. When I asked him his name, he was polite with me, he was cordial with me. So I think that manager asked for, I think Sean asked the manager for his name and refused to give it either. And so that's why I was trying to explain to them, like, even if you don't like it, I think kind of running with it and just like, hey, you all already know this needs more marketing. And then I talked to him, he's got like hundreds of thousands of followers on his YouTube. So it's like, hey, if you're doing good things and helpful things, like, and he's not violating anybody's privacy, like, he's not going to the computers and looking at social security numbers or anything, like, literally in the public area, to show, like, he's a foreigner, essentially, from, he said Long Island, so I'm assuming New York. Like, he's not from Virginia, and this is the welcome you're giving him. Like, I think this is exactly why those camera things are good, because it's just showing, like, how do you react when, and that's what he was explaining to me, is he's doing it as a stress test, essentially. So that's where I understand their point of view. It's making people uncomfortable. It's making people feel like, I don't want to be on camera. Maybe I didn't put my makeup on today. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, you also came out in public. So there's an aspect that I do know I don't think Virginia has ruled on it specifically, but other Supreme Courts have ruled that, like, public officials in the public doing public duties, you can't violate, like, that's not a violation of anything.
But you have to remember too, a lot of people are ignorant to it, and I don't mean that in like a negative way. They just don't know. So they think, but I think it's really important that you were trying to educate them. But I think, like, at that point, like, when it's already too long, I mean, their employers really should be taking that precedent, setting that precedence at the workplace and educating them on that. So this isn't our first encounter, and we're aware of it, and, like, we understand. So I'm really glad
in
that
Norfolk
in Norfolk, So we've had the auditors come to Norfolk and go to different businesses. So we're aware of it. We're familiar with it. It's not a huge issue, but I mean, if the man was assaulted, I mean, then that's a whole different. You're talking about the audit. versus a criminal activity. So we're glad that you stuck around, or in the midst of.
And I would just add, and what I was explaining to the officers too, is what I find the reason why the Constitution is foundational. Because one of the is it Mattinson? Officer Mattinson? Martinson, I'm sorry. He mentioned that like he's not a constitutional scholar, and then, but I think that's exactly it. Is instead of thinking of the Constitution as like a high level, highbrow thing, it's literally like, no, this is the foundational, like Christ is the cornerstone, and then of America, the Constitution is the foundation, because if those gentle, very delicate rights just start getting violated and taken away, that's the whole reason America exists, because it's like taxation without representation, just trying to avoid the tyrannical abuse of power for the sake of like, this is our property, therefore do what we say no matter what we say.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, I think there's a little bit of that where starting to hear things come in from their mouth, talking about us like customers. I was like, it's an odd thing to say as a public employee with federal tax dollars, because I think just treating people as citizens and as neighbors, where you mentioned ignorant, I think my desire, like in this situation, would be that the police who have taken the oaths to uphold the Constitution would help in the keeping the peace by just letting them know, like, hey, because like you have had training. So like, you know, like there's a certain invisible line I cannot cross where they may not have that.
Correct.
And that's where I think just maybe vocalizing that, where God willing, the process moving forward will address this new generation of everybody just having a cell phone and being able to have freedom of press anywhere.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna do that today, but also, I mean, he's obviously wanting to take steps, measures for the assault. I don't know where he went to, but yeah, he's out there. So he obviously wants to take measures for that, so we wanna make sure that we get him help as well. Did they get your information?
I don't believe so.
Okay, were you done in here, or did you still need services, or?
No, I was done with the services, and then, again, because I have been, like long story short, just been involved with the court, not of my own choice. So I was starting to read this stuff for myself and realizing like, oh yeah, wow, this stuff is pretty brilliant. Like they used a lot of wisdom in laying this stuff out to try to protect the abuse, like common abuses of power, just because of ignorance or just because of like not even alleging that there's any malicious intent. Right. But any negligence thereof, just if you're not being mindful of those things, then a situation like this, like I read, I have rights, but I have a duty and an obligation that if I see something being misadministrated, then I have to, I'm responsible. Because if they're doing that to me and him, they're going to do that to other people unless the law comes and puts a boundary to say, no, you can't do that. That's unlawful. That's civilly unlawful. You cannot discriminate against somebody. Cannot violate somebody's constitutional rights just because you feel like it. Yeah. If he's not committing a crime, then you have zero authority to be able to put your hands on him, to ban him. And I was telling the officers, like, I don't like the court stuff. I'd rather handle it here so that it stops happening, and then nobody has to go to jail. And that's why I think the security guard kind of hardening himself just in his own lie that he did not put his hands on the person. It's like, you don't know what you're doing. And I counseled him. It's like, you probably want to just go research what the law is and then just stop talking, because everything you're going to say, and then that's when he started, was like, you're with him and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, I can't help if you're not going to listen.
So, but he has video footage? He recorded all the time?
Video, yes.
Okay, good. And then what about, do they have footage in there?
They have cameras up on the ceilings, so they're, I don't know if there's anything out here, but yeah, I don't know what that camera is recording, but the incident of the assault happened right here.
Right, okay.
And that was the security guard. The security guard was ordered by the manager, don't know his name, the Caucasian gentleman with the glasses, and so he was told, like, get him out, he's building's locked down, and then in doing so pushed him out, shut the door, and then Sean was kind of like holding on to the handle that, like, you can't do that, like, this is unlawful. And then they just they went forward with it, shut down the entire place, telling us that it's closed, still let other people come in. So really, I think, again, the seed of all of this was the moment where I was, God is witness, trying to help keep the peace with both the Caucasian manager gentleman and the African American manager. I don't know their roles, but just the people that were seemingly in charge. When I was talking to them, they were only willing to say what we were to do, and they were not willing to communicate about any of the rights and trying to like calm things down. And so they basically just shut their ears up and went in there and followed through with everything that is transpired, calling the police and all that. So that's why I think the right way to act is, in this situation, to respond, is to keep this stuff from happening again, is to address those managers and say, really helping them understand what the law is, what the fundamental, inalienable, cannot diminish them rights are, so that he's not putting himself and the entire Commonwealth at liability.
Sure, that's super important, and we will do that. Absolutely. But you said they do have your information?
They do.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to get them to jot down your information. Did you give the information to the other fella?
No.
You might want to.
Is he still here?
Yeah, he's still here. So I'm going to get them to take down your information.
Oh, actually, I did give a card to.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'll tell them to do it, just in case. Your name, are you comfortable giving him your telephone number in case he has any questions, or just name?
Sure, the officer? Or?
No, the citizen.
Yeah, I gave him my business card.
Okay, so he does not need, so we're gonna get your information.
Okay.
Just so we have it on file in case we need to get in contact with you. But, once you talk to the officers, if you're all done with him, we're gonna take it from here. So this is what, we intend to do. Educate them, like you said, on what they need to do going forward. I'm gonna try to review the video footage.
Thank you.
And then, from there, I'll determine what the next course of action would be. So for these type of situations, it is a misdemeanor assault, and misdemeanor assault would be, we don't have to make arrest if it occurred not in our presence.
Correct.
Meaning, so if he was assaulted, we didn't see it, he has every right to go down to the magistrate and obtain a warrant.
Right.
And as soon as he gets that warrant, then we can come back and take action
May I ask
and
you a
arrest
question?
him. Sure.
So in this situation where he does have video footage of it, is it not the responsibility of the officers to search that out in the small investigation here, or is it just?
Dependent.
Okay.
It's kind of at the discretion of the officer.
Understood.
So if you're telling me that you have video footage, that's going to come into play in the court of law.
Understood.
So you can tell me, so any person in the Commonwealth of Virginia can say, I was assaulted by this person. We don't need video footage. So if I assault you and there's no video footage, it's my word against your word. So we don't need video footage. Where that comes into play is not necessarily the officer, it's the court. So does it help the officer, and can the officer put that in his report? Yes, absolutely.
I think Sean was just, he was vocalizing that to put the burden on the victim, which, to be honest, like it wasn't so violent that he's incapable of doing it, but I do understand the fact that in a situation like this, again, reminds.
Excuse me, I'm supervising 10 different people, so. Hey.
You haven't come down to the EOA.
No, I'm on a call with the officers right now. Can I give you a call back? Are you okay? Is it something that can be done real quick?
Can you get out of general and handle that? Of course.
Do we know it to be 119?
37. Yes, sir. Would you like another unit as well? That's fine.
No, we're not doing that. Yeah, you can clear it per me. Yeah. You bet. See ya. All right. Bye. I'm sorry. Where were we?
We're talking about Sean was vocalizing that he
Okay.
felt like it's wrong for the victim to have the burden to have to go do that, and I was just thinking, again, and I don't think there's a whole bunch of case law in the sense of phones or like the government's handing out cell phones now.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in a situation where I think, just trying to use the discretion of if he does have video evidence of it, I think it might be prudent to look at it to see what he's actually saying, so that if you have an opportunity to stop, like, I'll just speak totally objectively, like
Sure.
completely objectively, like if you're showing up here and what he's saying is false, I think doing a little investigation to see if what he's claiming is true,
Right.
to help protect them from having to be dragged to court.
Sure, absolutely.
And if he is saying something that is true and he has video evidence of there being an actual assault crime being committed, then I think it would be the responsibility of the state, of the city, to be able to help bring that forward, so that essentially like the law is being enforced in that sense. Because I do understand that, like, having him just go down to the magistrate, fill an affidavit, do it that way is great, but I think trying to be more quick in cutting off whatever if you can correct the issue at the source, I think that would be better than
Sure.
wasting court resources and having to bring people before a judge and have his word be against their
Sure.
word or whatever. On the other note, if they do have footage of it, is there anything that protects us from them deleting it, or just like if they just whatever the camera is doing, if they just like, well, it's not there anymore, like, is there anything that protects us from them being able to?
Yes, so when we do the report today, I'm gonna go in and ask to look at the videos. They could tell me, no, that I need a,
Search warrant.
yeah, so if that's the case, that will be in my report. But if I'm able to look at the video footage and I'm able to see that and identify that an assault did occur, I will annotate that in the report as well. So it'd be listed in the police report.
Okay, and then just for my understanding, is if it is a federal program like this, because I'm still a little confused. I know that Virginia Cure works. I don't know what the relationship is with the city and the state officially, but are they private in the sense where those constitutional rights apply to them?
That's what I have to find out.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I knew nothing about this being back here.
Okay.
I don't know how long they've been here. I have no idea. So I got to find all that stuff out.
Okay.
So I can follow. If you leave your phone number with the officers, I can give you a call back and let you know once I find out. But
yeah,
honestly, I can't answer that right now. I have no idea.
It's interesting. So
it is.
Yeah.
So we rotate shifts. Like we do day shift, night shift, and like with us rotating so often, there's sometimes that these places pop up and we don't know about it, and then we kind of just find out like on calls like this. So I apologize for
Well,
that.
God bless you, and I mean, it
Thank
sounds
you.
like you got a bunch on your plate, so may the Lord just help firm you in justice and in righteousness, so that you are able to diligently do everything that He's called you to do, everything that you've sworn to do, without worry, without any frustration. Now the grief just come away and fills you with that steadfast love. Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
That hit my heart.
Amen. God is
Thank
good.
you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, may the Lord bless you and help you do. Yeah. If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, I'm sure you seek Him out. You do? Yeah. And continue to, just let Him, all your burdens on Him. The more that we bring it out of our mouth, that's why He's rebuking the scribes and the Pharisees. Like, you guys are making oaths and saying all this kind of stuff. It's like you're thinking of the physical things, but it's the words that come out of our mouth. He's the Spirit of truth. He breathed on the disciples, saying, receive the Holy Spirit. So if the inside of the dish is clean, He said, believe in me, fountains of living water.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been singing praise, even in the midst of all your struggles, I encourage you to do so, because the Lord is, that's where David was. Like, he's out in the wilderness singing praise to God. And God heard him.
Thank you so much for that.
Anyway, it's all God. I'm only this way because
you're the voice.
only
You're
by
the-
His grace. Yeah.
The vehicle, yeah. Thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna put you out here with these guys so they can get the information, and I'm gonna find out about that. I'm gonna see if they have video footage, and of course, I need to hear their side of the story and do a thorough investigation.
Sure.
So, what was your name again?
Peter Benoit Jr.
Peter Van Waw. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get them name, telephone number if you have it. That would be helpful. If you can provide them an address, because if this goes to court, then more than likely, he'll probably want you to be subpoenaed. Are you willing to come to court and testify on his behalf?
I am. Okay. How long have you been a police officer? No.
I just graduated academy like December.
Oh wow. Okay.
So,
Well, welcome to the force. How do you like it so far?
It's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy what I do.
Good. May it stay that way.
I wanted to be a police officer for a long time. So.
Good. Well, may the Lord protect you, shine His face upon you.
This you or this? This you or this one?
That's it.
Okay.
You want me?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No.
Good.
Yeah, leave my guess is. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You ain't get no
Those
business.
questions.
Is that-
You were going to ask a question.
Well, blessing. Just may the
Oh.
Lord bless you, shine His face upon you. I don't know if you believe Him or not,
I do.
but yeah, I encourage you to be filled with His Word.
With this job, you kind of have to.
Amen.
Kind of have to be.
Amen. Yeah. So may He give you that clear discernment, sound mind, the ability to really not just judge based on appearance, but to listen for the truth and have that spiritual gift of discerning the spirits, and so that you're not being deceived. And may the works of the enemy just fall away. And may He help hold your hand in righteousness and in truth to do what is good. Amen. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
I think, like she said, if you want to stick around for a little bit, I think she said you're free again.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to try to talk to Sean again before I left. Are you a believer in the Lord?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I encourage you to be praying for the leadership. Because things are going to get crazier and crazier. Like, I heard Revelation recently. It's part of what happened. Like, judgments will get poured out, and the people that are not walking.
Hello.
Hello.
I was upstairs when the guy walked in, and then you and I had a conversation here, and then he came and tried to get in my face with that camera again. And I completely understand what you were saying. He's still recording. I don't want my face on camera, but so what is the final outcome here? He can come in here and record.
So right now, our sergeant is taking care of the situation right now. We're still trying to come to a final conclusion with everything, but our sergeant has actually taken over everything. We're just on standby and see what her final decisions are.
This is ridiculous. I'm just saying, I know it's a public building, but you make people feel uncomfortable, and this is what I was trying to explain to you. He could have called, ask the director to sit with the director and, talk to her or talk to anyone about what's going on.
Okay.
But once you start invading people's personal space, then that becomes an issue.
Yeah.
May I have your name, ma'am?
I'm not giving you my name. Thank you.
Guys, just talking with the sergeant, that I think when they wrote the First Amendment, like way back when, probably was not thinking that like press would be anybody with a cell phone and a Facebook and a Twitter or YouTube or anything. So I think a lot of this is happening because it's going to create some new legislation or new policies and things like that. Because at a certain point, like, yeah, so if we get to the point where people are wearing Google glasses and walking around, like everything is AI recorded, and what it's like, yeah, you can't protect any public. You're out in public, you have no right to privacy whatsoever. And I think that's, yeah, people are like, I get it. I wouldn't want somebody just in my child's face with a camera, but at the same time, like, if we're at the playground and somebody's just recording, like, can't really do anything about it. Like, he's got the right to do that. If he's doing something illegal with it, then I think then there's teeth to bring it. Yeah. That's why I think being cordial, friendly, open conversation with people. Okay. How are you doing?
Good. Enjoying the sun. Enjoying the sun.
So I know you could FOIA all this stuff, like the body cams
Yeah.
or whatever, but I think in general, just the conversation I had with the sergeant was just testifying to everything I saw. Like, we weren't breaking the law. They got really defensive, really uncomfortable, and then they acted in an unlawful manner. She got my information because you mentioned that you want to take out charges, so that if they subpoena me, then okay. Woman came out again. I didn't get her. She didn't tell me her name. I think it was Victoria, like seeing on her name tag. But she
was a manager here or something.
One of the management. Yeah, the woman that was out there. That she was, just basically saying like you can't invade people's personal space. But I think just unwilling to be cooperative and hearing both sides. And so, Lord willing, I was able to encourage the police officer to do the right thing in educating them about how the fragile rights, like inalienable, cannot diminish them rights at all. So, I think she's going to see if the camera that was in there picked anything up. And then I just asked some questions about like the officers not being seemingly willing to even see your footage.
Yeah.
Like that seemed concerning to me.
Very concerning. Very concerning. Again, if the roles were reversed, and that's why it's a big deal to me, is because if we can't hold the people who we entrust with certain authorities, we entrust them with certain authority over us, but they need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
The same way, what is an officer's job is to hold people accountable, right, for their actions.
Yeah.
Tickets and everything else, that's just, to get money and, deter people from speeding and stuff. But their main job is to hold people accountable for criminal acts and to uphold. That's why every single law enforcement officer in this country takes an oath to uphold the United States Constitution.
That's why I think that
is their oath.
Amen. And the thing that's here
take that seriously.
Should be like what she was mentioning too. Is I think ignorance is so prevalent, even in the police force.
Yep.
Because I was asking, like one of the officers said, like they get trained on the Constitution in like basic training.
Yeah.
But as far as he was relatively new. Like, they're not getting trained often.
Yeah.
So there's so much fine detail.
Yeah, on my channel, I've moved into, you know, I've done trainings at police departments before.
Oh, cool.
I've done trainings at I've been fortunate enough to be invited to a police department in Ohio, and I did a training. There's a video on my channel of it, and then I made connections with the officers there and other officers across the country, and that believe in the oath that they took to uphold the Constitution.
That's great.
And you know, we have conversations like that on my channel. We're gonna have a one coming up on Tuesday, this Tuesday coming up, and you know, a lot of them say the big thing. There's two big problems with law enforcement and the government in general is the lack of training and education, and then number two, ego, and then actually number three is accountability, because you're not getting trained properly, which leads to you not de-escalating, you not knowing about people's rights, you not caring, you know. Then as far as your ego is that when someone comes up to you with a camera and starts telling you, even in a nice way like I do it, like, hey, listen, this is my rights, X, Y, and Z, their ego prevents them from listening. Just like that security officer, his ego prevents him from listening and hearing what I'm saying and really understand what I'm saying. Like, hey, because how can this guy know I'm a law enforcement officer? I'm a security guard. How does this guy with a camera know more than me? It's impossible. So they reject that knowledge that I'm trying to instill upon them. And then the third thing, accountability. You see it so often across the country. When officers do something, there is no accountability. They have to do something egregious. You know, kill a man on camera, but every little thing should be held accountable too, so that way it's a deterrent. Just like when they hold you accountable or me accountable, what do they say? It's so that way we don't do it again, and it's a deterrent for others that see our punishment.
Exactly.
So if you hold the police officer accountable, but it works in reverse, because if you don't hold them accountable, now it's the reverse of a deterrent. Now you're encouraging officers. Hey, I can put my hands on people and I can get away with it. I can violate people's rights and I can just, you know, nothing's gonna happen to me. Just like if I didn't hold the security officer accountable, he would have put his hands on somebody else again in the future. Maybe even in a worse case where he actually hurt them, did physical harm to them.
That's why I think the ignorance, the pride, I think can get, like the Bible says, like the gentle word can break a bone. Because I think people get very, it's the hardest thing in the world. I'm still wrestling with it. Like when people are doing evil to you, having that real like turn the other cheek mentality of you just you keep warning them. You can't force them to do anything, but you could keep telling them what the truth is. And I think in this I see the lack of compassion and the lack of understanding what the true purpose. That's why I asked him, like, the lack of even wanting to understand. Like, it's okay, not everyone we're all learning on a daily basis, but the lack of wanting to understand, even opening up a dialogue. It's like that woman in management. She's saying, oh, he's immediately, and this is why it's so important that I record when I go into the buildings, because they're saying, oh, he's holding his camera 2 inches from my face. That's not true. You're trying to paint a narrative in order to make me look like a bad guy or somebody that's just trying to antagonize you. Look, hey, remember you were talking to her and she's like, hey, I have no problem with it. But identify himself to let him know what he's doing here. I did all those things. And then when I attempted to do all those things to her, to explain those things to her, what'd she do? I don't want to hear it. She ran away. She didn't want to hear it. Again, learning lesson for everybody, and it's a learning lesson for all the people watching these videos too, and that's why people really appreciate these kinds of videos and this kind of content, this kind of stories, investigations, because it's eye-opening to everyone. It's eye-opening to me right here in the moment. It's eye-opening to law enforcement that watch my videos, eye-opening to the general public that they're like, hey, that guy shouldn't have acted that way, and then together, maybe we don't get, and this is why I feel so blessed to have the platform that I have, because maybe I don't get by myself, I don't get the accountability I'm looking for, I don't get the real change that I'm looking for, but together, the people united, it's a big voice. Me just sitting here and saying things is one thing, but when you have over 500,000 people saying the same thing, and they're like, hey, we're taking notice of it, because this is going to be dangerous for me, right? These officers can come over here and say, you know what,
it's happened to me before, or they take my freedom and they arrest me. Just a situation like this, and they're like, oh, you're arrested. Same situation, security guard assaults me, he doesn't get charged, I get charged, I go through a 2-week trial that I posted on my, a 2-week trial for nothing. It's insane, for doing nothing, for not breaking any laws, for doing the exact opposite, engaging in a constitution protected activity.
That's why I was encouraging the sergeant to be mindful of that kind of stuff, because I think when the officers do respond to this, especially a supervisor comes out, to take it upon themselves to educate them, really, and try to cut it off at the source. Because even whether you take charges or not or anything, like dealing with it here so that you're not wasting public money later because you're just being slack in this situation of just letting people violate rights, and then they're like you were mentioning, like, and then they're just encouraged to like, oh sweet, we
just did it, we could do it again.
We've got a throne here, we can do whatever whatever rules we make, you've got to follow them regardless of whether they're violating your rights or not. And that's why I think holds everybody accountable to like, well, hold on, like, let's get back into the mindset of being a servant.
It's insane that you were, it's insane. It's such a blessing that you were here today, because I felt like you helped de-escalate the situation even more. I tried my best, but for some reason, people just don't like me holding the camera in my hand.
That's why the Lord sent them out 2x2, because it's so easy to gang up on somebody and just start trying to devour.
I'm glad you were here, and even that, it was crazy. And then they're here together. They just paint these narratives that are false, and it's just like, you just happened to be here. Do I think it was by accident? No, I don't think it was by accident. I think that this was meant to happen this way, and I'm glad it did.
Yeah. Where does my help come from? It comes not from mankind, but the Lord. Like like the reason I was here, set it up yesterday, and then he's saying the truth. Like, I was asking some of this kind of questions because I do user experience design, so I'm thinking about it from the user, the person, and I interact with a lot of people that are homeless or poor or mentally challenged, all that kind of stuff. So when I'm seeing this, I'm like, I had no idea this was even here. And I don't think many of the people that I'm down at, like, I live in Virginia Beach, like, many of the people in Virginia Beach have no idea these resources are even available. Yeah. So
when I first got here, I was like, hey, this is awesome. I'm like, hey, look, there's job opportunities, they help you.
How did you find out about this?
It's great. I just through Google. I just Googled the employment, because I like to show things that are helpful to people, as well as, like, I do FOIA requests. I show people how to do FOIA requests. It's not just about walking around with the camera. I mean, that's part of it, only because it's to see, like I said before, it's an audit. It's to show. It's to see, how do you react when a citizen. There should be never a problem with a citizen walking into a building with a camera, and they act like it's a gun. They act like it's some type of weapon of mass destruction, and there should never be a problem. You should be inviting, and especially, they don't know me and they don't know my reach, but I have a worldwide reach, and I'm fortunate and blessed to have that. People would pay a lot of money to have that reach, and you're getting it for free as a government agency. You could have just as easily said, hey, Sean, nice to meet you. Would you like to know about some of the opportunities we have here for veterans? We have a bunch of different opportunities here for the citizens of Virginia, for veterans. We have these seminars, we have X, Y, and Z. I have no idea, because they were reluctant and ignorant, and they didn't want to instill that information on me because I have a camera. And that could have helped some people out here that didn't know, like you said.
Yeah, or exactly. The ignorance blocked them from being able to say, like, welcome. Like, here are the things that you can't, like, please, we're just requesting you stay in this area. We do have sensitive information, like people's social security numbers and things that they don't want. And there might be somebody on our staff that has not received the training to really privately put those things away. So we just ask you to be mindful of that, like, while you're here. Because I think, again, like, having that kind of common courtesy communication, as opposed to just,
it's not about what you say, it's how you
shut
say
it down. You're banned. You guys can come in, but you're banned. That's not right.
It's ridiculous. That's what it is.
I mean, just for the sake of a lot of the stuff I deal with, because I'll preach openly about Christ and Him crucified and the command to repent, people turn away, and I kind of do similar things with this at a lot of bars. Like, I've noticed a lot of the, like, There are bars, strip clubs, things like that, where I'm just talking to the owners, and God, by His grace, like the strip clubs especially, I won't even have to go inside. God will bring them outside to me, and I'll talk to them. And a lot of them, they're just totally ignorant. Like they have no, where I'm able to just bear witness to them. Like Jesus said, if you cause somebody to sin, it's better to have a millstone tied around your neck than you're thrown into the sea. So lust, like He said, pluck your eye out. Like in the strip club situation, like you got to be, and a lot of them think they're Christian. They're just like, oh yeah, my pastor, my bishop told me this is okay, and I was like, you let me know. We can try to transform this into a restaurant, do something much more wholesome. Because if money is your thing, the money is the thing that you're trying to get to. Don't sin and cause other people to sin to get there. Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, then the rest will be added to you. But I've had a lot of this kind of experience with the bars. Like the moment I even mentioned God, the security guards would be like, are you talking to people about God? You got to get out of here. I'm like, that's my right to do. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're harassing people. And it's like, that's not harassment. I'm asking them a question. Like, I just ask them, like, do you believe in God? They'll say yes or no. And I'll say, do you believe in Jesus? They'll say yes or no. And then I'll just have a conversation with them. And if they want to walk away, then they're free to walk away. If they want me to walk away, then I walk away.
Yeah.
But I see that in it led me to the Civil Rights Act, or in Virginia, it's the Human Rights Act in the Virginia Code, where you're not allowed, it's unlawful to discriminate against somebody, even as a private business.
Yeah.
Because I found they keep bringing the trespassing charge, like we have the right to refuse service to anybody. And it's like, except protected classes. Like you can't, the same way you can't just say like, well, he's gay, we're not serving him. He's black, we're not serving him. You can't say he's Christian. So
exactly, First Amendment, and that's what I'm a big proponent of, and of education. And it's not only freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of expression.
Amen.
You know, so I support it, and everybody, especially here at again, when you get into private businesses, they can't do it either, but they can basically trespass you or remove you for any reason, right? Other than those reasons, right?
Yeah.
But other than those reasons, again, but how would you know, right? How do you? That's where it gets hard.
Well, just like here, it ends up trying to use the criminal code to suppress the civil violation.
Exactly.
It's like we're going to say, because what I heard them say, they're accusing you of disturbing the peace.
Yeah.
He's disturbing the peace.
Yep.
It's like you're using that term, but he's not.
Yeah.
It was peaceful. He was peacefully using his rights until you started violating those rights.
And it's funny in my trial that I just had, it was a 2-week long. There was 4 misdemeanors at first, and they realized they didn't want me having a jury trial, so the system is very corrupt.
Yeah.
And they didn't want me to have a jury trial.
What state?
This was Connecticut.
Okay.
One of the most corrupt states I've ever been to. But so they dropped all the misdemeanors, so I wasn't entitled to a trial by a jury anymore. So they kept 2 infractions, which are like $90 tickets, basically like parking tickets. But they kept them in order for me to have a trial in front of a judge only. And the judge happened to be an ex-prosecutor who's still the president of the prosecutors union. A big mess. But I was charged with creating a public disturbance and simple trespass. Trespassing in a public building that I helped fund. I don't know how that's.
Public building?
It was a city hall. It was a city hall. So probably the most public building there can be, right? So when the judge was doing his verdict, we watched all the videos or whatever, and they were testifying, a big show for nothing. Just it was insane, and it was recorded and everything. And the judge says, well, can someone argue that Mr. Reyes, contributed to creating a public disturbance? Yes. Was he a part of it? Yes. But Mr. Reyes at no time confronted anyone. Everyone came up to Mr. Reyes. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He says that, and so therefore I'm going to find him not guilty of creating a public disturbance. But, of course, because he has to. That's just the way it works. He found me guilty of simple trespassing. That I didn't.
Is that a criminal charge?
Huh?
Is that a criminal?
No,
charge?
it's still an infraction. They were both infractions.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's just simple trespassing in City Hall. He just had to have me on something because what they want to protect themselves, which is the furthest thing that I can care about. I couldn't care less about lawsuits, and I do get paid off advertisements and everything. Like I do make money because everybody has to make money what they're doing. But I don't go in this looking for lawsuits in order to get monetization. If I do file a lawsuit, it's for change. I would rather, for example, instead of going through all this, I'd rather all the management, and if they were good management, they would have done it. I would rather them come out here and say, hey, Sean, my name is John. We start off on the wrong foot here.
That's great.
I'm so sorry about this. You shouldn't have been treated this way. Security guard could have came up to me and said, hey, Sean, I shouldn't have put my hands on you in any way possible. I was listening to what they told me, and I shouldn't have done that. It's wrong with me. I'm sorry. We could have all shook hands and moved on. But the problem is why you have to file lawsuits is that the law enforcement officers, they don't want to admit that. They'd rather throw money at you than to admit that they did anything wrong when they know what they did was wrong.
Right.
So it's just the way it is. It's just the way. So he had to find me guilty of something in order to prevent a future lawsuit. I'm appealing and everything, but it becomes a very my attorney cost me $25,000. Like it was because I first it was for criminal charges.
Or he's a criminal.
Yeah, it was for criminal charges. So I was like, wow, I can really lose my freedom here. This is insane. So I hired one of the best attorneys with the help of the people who watch my channel, and then they drop them to infractions, and it's $90 tickets, and I just like to expose corruption, no matter what it takes. I like to expose corruption and tyranny wherever I can find it.
You mentioned a lot of the police and stuff across the country. Have you talked to the federal,
So the federal government is a little bit. They won't. It's actually real. I would love to audit the federal government and to do those kinds of things, and I do go into federal buildings. But as far as working with them or communication with the FBI, they won't even talk. They're very. And how many people have ever been to an FBI building and they're like, probably almost no one, right? What purpose do you have to even go there?
Well, just to clarify, I meant the Attorney General in the sense of the party responsible for helping the U.S. citizens in the various states to protect those rights.
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I've reached out to the Attorney Generals and the FBI themselves because there is. I remember we were talking earlier about is there any type of way holding accountable for violation of rights? There is a federal law that holds people accountable for violating your rights under the color of law.
Right.
So if an officer of the law if someone violates your rights under the color of law, that's a crime.
A criminal wearing
That's a criminal. That's a federal offense.
Yeah.
That, for example, if an officer violates my rights here, they can be arrested by a federal agent for violation of my rights. I don't know how many times that has been used. None in my case, and I doubt ever, to be honest. It's probably never used.
Well, if I could share with you, on December 19th, I'm involved in a dispute in court that I did not want to be part of. It was a false accusation. And they're finding out firsthand that courts are very corrupt. Yeah. They're just no evidence, nothing. They're still just going off of the crazed hysterics of the whole situation. I was ignorant to the law, which is why I'm reading all this kind of stuff, but an officer escorted me out of the courtroom. Then I was in the hallway of the court. I had subpoenaed some other witnesses that never got a chance to testify, so we're out there praying, audibly. I sang some praise to God, and the security guard, the sergeant of the sheriff's department of Portsmouth, escorted me out of the building, brought me out of the front door, and so I just didn't resist, and then I went to enter back in just to say I'm not done doing what I want to appeal. I need to make another motion. I need to use the clerk's office, and so he said, if you come back in, you're trespassed from the building. I was like, what's the purpose? What's the reason? He's like, we don't need a purpose. I was like, that's not right. And then I asked him, can I speak to a supervisor? And he's like, all right, yeah, come on. And so we took 3 steps in, and then he just took my phone out of my hand, arrested me, took all my property. I was like, I don't think what you're doing is right. And then they brought me into the back. I was singing praise to God. They stripped me, brought me to jail. It was just even on the car ride over there with the Captain Gamoke and the Sergeant Wimberly, I was just telling him, I think you should talk to the Commonwealth Attorney because I don't think what you're doing is lawful. And then when they brought me to court on the 27th, both officers just lied under oath they told me on the escort out, they're telling me they're warning me multiple times and about you're going to get banned, you got to please quiet down. None of that happened. They bring me outside, and then they invited me in. Judge even saw the video, and then the judge was like, well, because the testimony of the officer is that the judge who was in the courtroom banned me from the building, like from the property. And I was like, I don't think that ever happened. Because I don't think, like...
Was it courthouse?
It was the judicial complex of Portsmouth, Virginia. And I was like, I don't think that ever happened. I'd like to subpoena her. The day before the trial, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth quashed that, or did a motion to quash, so the judge never had to testify whether she made that order or not. And so my argument now is like, one, I don't believe you have the authority to just ban somebody without purpose from the clerk's office. That's First Amendment 101. Two, I don't think the judge even made that, and if she's the accuser, I have the right to call her and basically say, why are you banning me from... Why are you trying to abridge my rights? Like, for what reason? And if you're trying to play the legal game of she can't be subpoenaed for something that came before her, it's like, well, at this point, I don't know I just want the truth. Like, you took away, you put me in jail, and I'm just trying to, it's a mess. It's insane. Hello.
How you doing, Sarge?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Can I talk to you privately over
Yeah,
here?
sure.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks, Jen.
So I will bless you, I will praise your name. I will call upon you, Father, and I hope to make you famous for the ends of the earth. Let them know. With your peace and your grace, and let the people turn to you and seek your face. Oh, let us know your righteousness is righteous always. Oh, let the Lord be glorified in all of his ways. For he is the Holy One, he's the witness of all things. Oh, let all of creation praise the King of Kings. Oh, he made all flesh with his word, and now he is calling us to obey. And the Lord, he has bought me. I'm his for his grace. He instructs me in righteousness, he is worthy to be praised. Oh, guard my heart and mind, O King, and let your judgment sing. In righteousness and truth, O Lord, let all of us sing. For the Lord will go from Zion, it will bless everyone, convicting all ungodliness and the ungodly things that are done. Oh, correct the rebellious and disobedient judgment in truth. And Lord, you are the righteous witness, let us have that youth. Like children to a Father who loves us with grace. Oh, the Lord, the mighty King of all, He's worthy to be praised. Oh, let us do what is righteous, and let all the disobedient understand. For judgment it is justice, it is the way of truth and love. And the Lord, the meek and lowly, oh, He's reigning up above. And He loves righteousness, and He hates wickedness. He's anointed with love and joy. Oh, He is angry with the wicked every day, and the ones who forge their lies and make the righteous their prey. Oh, let them be accursed of them who love not the Lord. They have eyes but see not, and all their deeds are abhorred. They've separated themselves from the truth, the way, the life. Better to be meek and humble than abide in His strife. For the wrath of God is revealed against all ungodliness, and the flesh it lusts against the Spirit and His law. For His way is justice, and in righteousness He reigns. Oh, His hand stretched out the heavens, who can do the same? May I ask, was the shoving out the door on the camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do anything.
So she saw it and then she's not doing it?
I just showed it to her, and she's not going to do anything. She says she doesn't. She says she doesn't see it well enough. Because I got your witness, and you can clearly see him, but.
When you have a chance, do you mind if I see it?
Yeah, sure. I'll show it to you right now. She's going to get me some numbers that I can. It's not closed. It's not closed. It's not closed. We need to hold you accountable. You're not gonna touch me. You're not gonna touch me. You're not gonna touch me. Stop.
That's not assault.
Do you need to talk to me anymore, sir?
Excuse me?
Do you need to talk to me anymore?
I need the CAD number.
No, we're going to do you one better. We're going to get your report number.
Okay, perfect.
The report number have all the information in there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
it'll have the responding officer.
Yeah, so I get body camera footage and everything.
Yeah, I'll make sure he puts my information in there that I responded out to.
Yeah,
so
I would just say Sergeant Greason.
Yep.
I would just say Sergeant Greason that I am disappointed that, because if I were to put my hands, if you watch the video of me doing that to somebody, I'm pretty sure I would be in jail. But like I said, the people are seeing this video and they're gonna hold the Norfolk Police Department accountable. I'm sure you have bosses that tell you what to do as well. You're not obviously the police chief or anything. So again, just respectfully, the people will hold you accountable for not doing your job here today, whether it's by your choice or your boss's choice. It's irrelevant. You didn't do your job. You didn't enforce the law. There's a law. There's a
But
law
we are.
against simple
Well,
assault.
if I may say too,
But we are.
if it was unclear, I'm again like as a witness, my hand is the one that shows up right after he's getting him out of the door. Like like that happened, so I know he could take the warrant out for it, but can I ask?
He's been advised on the process on how he can go about doing it. So it's very unclear in both videos whether an assault actually occurred. So that's why it's his word against the security guard's word, and that's why he was advised to go down and seek
But I have a
charges
video
from the
and a
magistrate.
witness.
Understandable. And you can go down and take out charges.
I know I can.
Absolutely.
I know
so
I
we
can.
did do our
But I'm
job.
just
We
saying,
came out,
no,
we did
but-
an investigation, we did a report, we advised you that you can go down and take out warrants with the magistrate.
Of course I can, but that's your job.
Awesome. Can I do anything else for you today?
Your job is to take out the warrants, not mine.
Can I do anything else for you today?
No, just the number, the report number. That's
Okay.
all. Sergeant.
All right. Hang tight.
Yep, no
We'll
problem.
get it right to you.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
The mystery of lawlessness. So if God's basically just shutting this up, then it's got to go before a judge.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's got to do. Just because,
Judges
and
be
again,
held
I
accountable
don't
too.
particularly appreciate her attitude right now. I feel like it's kind of like, indifferent. Like, whatever. I don't care. Like, that's not how a public servant should act towards a member of the public. That's not how a law enforcement officer should act when a member of the public is reporting a crime. Again, he was allowed to leave. He was allowed to. I would have been in handcuffs, detained, just like you were. You see how the difference? You did nothing compared to what he just did.
Well, that's
and
what
look
I
what
mean.
you went through.
Well, think about like Ecclesiastes says, like if you see oppression in a district, just don't fret, because understand that there are overseers above them. So if God is basically like took the spirit away from her from doing that, like then the next step is to bring it to a judge. Because hey, maybe there's something else we don't know about. Judge needs to be able to
She has probable cause. She could. The difference is that she just doesn't want to do it.
Right.
That's she doesn't want to.
But part of
Whether
it
that's her choice.
We can't force anybody.
Exactly.
To.
Whether it's her, I can't force her to do her job. Exactly. But whether it's by her choice, even, or by maybe a superior that's called her and said, "Hey, listen, don't do this." Again, she'll be held accountable in ways that it has nothing to do with me. She'll be held accountable, but now I have to, as a victim, go to the court and
this is part of the problem too is when it gets divided.
And I will get a warrant. Like she's not wrong. Like I can go get the warrant and they will grant it to me because my word under oath and a camera is good enough, and a witness, that's good enough. Like that's good enough to secure a warrant for someone's arrest. She just doesn't want to secure the warrant. She wants me to go do it. So that for what purpose?
Right.
I don't know.
There's many. It could be she doesn't want to. She's already got a busy schedule. She doesn't want to be the one that's the prosecuting officer that's got to be summoned to the court. There could be a million different reasons. I think one of the things I'm sensing is that this is now diverted from the major issue of the civil rights thing to this conflict of whether or not she's going to prosecute the criminal charge because if I understand correctly, she saw the footage, she saw everything that's happening, and then there's still no, which the police officers I've talked to in Virginia Beach, they've basically said which I think it's a way of interpreting the code, like the police just handle criminal and traffic charges. So my question has been, I think there's a gap, like we have no civil authority.
It's supposed to be the FBI. That's what it's supposed to be. Federal government is supposed to look after our civil rights, but they just don't. Like you don't see. I've gone to them before. To their offices are enclosed in a fence that you can't. There's like a little officer, a speaker you can speak to, and you can't go anywhere near their building at all. And you tell them what you need to do. Hey, we're not talking to you on camera. They won't even talk to you if you have a camera. They'll say, hey, you know what? Goodbye. If you want to turn off the camera, then you can talk. So I've even played by their game and their rules. And I said, all right, I'll turn off the camera. Oh no, put it in your car. I said, all right, I'll even put it in my car. Just so I can at least speak to you and tell you what type of criminal activity is going on by this government in Connecticut at the time. They took down everything. Nothing ever happened. It's more of like a mentality of like they're on the same team, and I think that's how it works with the court system as well. The judge is supposed to be like, the middle, the fair and unbiased party, but they work so much with the prosecutor's office that it becomes like one, like, oh, we're all here, and again, I'm not saying that they are horrible people for falling into that mentality. I'm saying that that's what they've fallen into, is that we're on the same team. We're here to get bad guys off the street. That's their mentality. Instead of the judge saying, I'm here to make sure that the prosecutor's playing by the rules, make sure the prosecutor's not violating this man's rights, and that this man is held accountable for any crimes he may or may not have done. Play fair. But again, the mentality of the government, if you walk into the buildings, you'll see, just like you said, they say customers or whatever, they'll say a lot of times this is our building. What are you doing here?
Exactly, yeah.
And again, the mentality of saying our building, like, get out of our building. This is our building. They don't see it as we're staying here. We're working here on behalf of you, the people. They say our building. This is our building. And again, it is what it is. But now I have to go to court and handle it that way, I guess.
Yeah, in Portsmouth, the sheriff's department there, I had one of the sergeants actually told me, because I was talking to him, they knew I was Christian, so he was just like, I don't believe in the Bible. And I was like, I'm not even talking about the Bible right now. I'm talking about the Constitution. He's like, I don't believe in that either. And I was like,
yeah,
what?
I've had officers
the
say
lieutenant colonel was nearby, and I was like, did you hear what he said? And he's like, well, he's being professional. I was like, no, he's not. You guys took oaths.
Yeah, oaths.
Does that mean
oaths.
anything?
Does that mean, that's the thing. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Oaths.
Here you go. I did you one better. So you got the CAD number. That's the dispatch number that you were dispatched. The report number. That's who I am. That's the 2 officers that were out here with me. That's the address. We are Norfolk Police Department.
Perfect. And the one last question for you: the magistrate, the courthouse. Where is it?
Yes. Do you want the address?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think the Norfolk one is the courthouse here that actually has the U.S. federal courthouse in it too.
Okay.
So it might be an opportunity to talk to somebody in there.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. Well, that's why I think scripturally, like the Revelation. Yeah, the Revelation is basically the beast is going to reign.
Yeah.
Like
it's
remove the spirit. It's just a bunch of animal instincts. Like they're going to lust against the law.
It's just so shameful because it's like she watched the video that hundreds of thousands of people are going to watch, and hundreds of thousands of people are going to see the crime that took place, and they're going to see her reaction to this, and that's why she's only. I don't really care that she's, I can go to the court, but what this sergeant's doing here is lengthening the gap. Thank you.
There you go.
May I ask you a question?
Yes. Last question.
Because one of the things I noticed is we shifted to the warrant.
Can we walk over here?
Sure. The warrant for the criminal charge.
Yep.
But do you perceive that there was a violation of the actual liberty, the right of him to be able to film?
So we are here for criminal violations. That's what the police are for. So we're not going to get into the weeds. And I was directed to not get into the weeds about what is allowed in what this building is defined as. I don't know.
Okay. May I have that? Whoever said that, their name?
No.
Who directed you?
No, I'm not at liberty to discuss that. I can give you my information and you can file a complaint on me if you'd like.
I don't want to. I'm just trying. Look, honestly, like I was explaining it, like I don't want to do report stuff. I'd rather it just be like, hey, these things are like you did take it, whether your policy or whatever the police thing is, like the
police are here for criminal matters, not civil. So that's a civil violation.
Well, the oath, the thing, like we're talking about the breath.
Sure.
Like your breath testified before God, same way somebody might marry a woman, make a vow. Like you've taken a vow.
Okay, wait, can I stop you right there? Because I did. I asked them if they had any kind of workplace training on things like this, and they assured me that they did. And that's as far as I need to take it. I'm not there to be their teacher. Now, I took it one step further and asked them that as a good Samaritan, as a good citizen.
Who is supposed to be the teacher? I don't want to waste your time. That's
their employers.
They're supposed
to train their employees on civil violations. Absolutely.
Okay.
We're here for criminal. So we're trained in criminal matters. They're supposed to be training their employees on civil violations and civil policy.
But then if somebody does if this organization, even the top level, you said the director of whoever this is, they are violating it.
I'm going to go ahead and go because I think I've answered these questions. So they are responsible for training their employees on policy, all their policies. So if they're in the wrong, then they could be dealt with civilly, and they could be sued civilly.
Okay, suing is the only option at that point. There's no teacher to help guide them.
You can call the company and try to make a complaint, like a formal complaint that way, and see where that will get you. But aside from that, I don't know what to tell you. We deal with criminal violations.
Okay.
So thank you again for the prayer. I appreciate it earlier. I sincerely do. I mean, it touched my heart. So I appreciate that. And, you know, I'm glad that you could be here for his support. You know, I think it stinks that...
And everybody's.
Yeah, I think it stinks that people aren't happy and people try to make the police look like in really bad light, and that's not the case. We've done nothing but come out here and be polite and courteous. So I don't like that we're trying to be painted in a negative light and a negative fashion when we've done nothing wrong.
But I do believe you do have the ability, that it might not be in your spirit right now, nobody can force you to do it, but you do have the ability based on proper cause to take out the warrant. And if you don't feel like doing it, or if somebody's counseled you not to do it, that's one thing. But I think that's where his complaint is basically say, like, you are putting the burden, instead of taking it yourself, to say, you know what, the Commonwealth will take this as a violation of somebody's rights. Instead of doing that, you are putting it back on the citizen to be the one to, like, yes, he does have the ability to go down and to the warrant.
Well, I understand what you're upset about, and that's something that he can take up. He can make a complaint with Internal Affairs if that's what he wishes to do. He has my name and he has my information. So I'll even write the name for internal, or the number for Internal Affairs down if you'd like.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, I just encourage, again,
like I said, it's not just
Christ.
me, ma'am. It's the country and the world that are gonna hold you accountable, or anybody accountable. Not particularly you. Again, it's not personal.
But even looking at Christ.
Well, then they clearly don't know laws and policies and procedures, because
I
that's
know the law. So
it's up to the discretion of the officer, number one. So there's that. Yes, we can make an arrest. No, we don't have to make an arrest.
I never said you did.
So
I'm saying that you could be, just because you don't have to do something.
Yeah.
doesn't mean
All right.
you be held
if you look at
accountable.
I've
Jesus,
helped you guys. Do you have any other
I have no
questions for
questions
today?
for you now.
I just have.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep.
You guys have a great day. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you.
Well, as you have ears to hear, consider Jesus who said, "Take me, let them
you.
go free."
I appreciate it.
And let's
I
follow
do have,
that example.
I do have Jesus in my heart. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna put your, if you want, just in case so people can, I'll put your, if you want, I could put your if people need your services or whatever, I'll put your contact information and your card.
Do you mind if I ask you the same? Because part of, I know the Lord's been showing me, I think it's like Proverbs 18, like he who hates striking hands is secure.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in like COVID area. It has nothing to even do with COVID, but in 2 John said, be careful welcoming people. Yeah. Because it's talking about false teachers. And if anybody does not confess that Jesus came in the flesh, to not greet them, don't even welcome them, because then you could lose the reward. Yeah. And so I just ask, I hope it's not offensive, because I think we should be encouraged to talk openly, like Paul said, like boldly as I ought to speak about the Lord and who he is. Yeah. Can you tell me who Jesus is?
Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and he lives in my heart. I have a relationship with him.
Amen. Where did he come from?
Where does he come from?
Yeah, where did he come from?
He is God. He's part of the Holy Trinity. I have a great love in my heart for people. The difference is that I'm more of a, salvation is individual. I get it that we're supposed to, no one's perfect, and neither am I. I'm far from it. But my mom showed me how to have a relationship, not just religion, a relationship with the Lord, and I speak with him, and my family and I, we serve the Lord. We go to church, we praise him, and I'm confident in my relationship that I have with Jesus and my family. He's blessed me and my family immensely, and
praise God. Well, I just encourage as we grow, like the gospel is Christ in you, the hope of glory, where it's such an intimate relationship. Like, that's why the Bible uses like marriage type terms, like you are becoming one. Part of the gospel is sharing in the divine nature of his patience, his kindness, and it doesn't happen immediately. But if that word is in you and that spirit is working in you, which Paul was saying, like the flesh lusts against the spirit and the spirit against the flesh, so that the more that you're being led by the Spirit, Jesus said his words are spirit, his words are truth. He is the truth, he is the way, he is the life. part of why I see John warning against that spirit of Antichrist is it's going to be, you'll see it. Like, people will reject the spirit in their own temple, and you won't let it come out. So people will start saying the stuff like, even the security guard, like when I was asking who he's serving, and like, he's in the flesh right now. Like, the spirit, he's not giving the spirit reign over his body, so that the fruits of what he's doing is causing strife, contention, like things like that. And so that's why I just encourage you, as a believer in the Lord, relationship with the Lord, to fulfill the obedience of what he's called us to do, to preach the gospel to all creation, to let the spirit just have free reign, so that we're, like he's talking about, clean the inside of the dish, meaning like us as a vessel.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm a cup, there might be some dirty little stuff that's in the corners of the bottom of the cup, and like you got to let God's spirit get in there and scour it all out. And then more than I think we're encouraging everybody just openly, where stuff like I was raised Roman Catholic, like the devil uses a lot of tricks to keep people in the dark, where it's just this hidden stuff in darkness, like, oh, just confess your sins back in this room privately. It's like, no, the Bible says confess it openly to your brothers. Like, prior to coming to the Lord, like, I was lying, stealing, looking at porn. I thought I was a believer. I was a complete hypocrite. But then when somebody asked me, what preachers are you listening to? And I was like, none. And I realized faith comes by hearing by the word of Christ. When you're hearing these things, reading the Bible, like Moses is preaching pretty much all of his doctrine to an entire crowd of people. There's no, like, as far as I know, there's no YouTube or anything or able to record it. Like, you just have to hear it and do it. Jesus said, who are my brothers and my sister and my mother? Those who hear the word of God and do it. So I just encourage you that.
Well, it's good that YouTube is actually, even my church has a YouTube channel, and they live stream on YouTube now, and which is cool. Me personally, I like to be there.
Absolutely.
You have to
definitely.
feel it.
Face to face is
and you have
so
to feel it. There's a different feeling than when you're in the presence of God.
Well, I encourage you, just even in this, like, you're gonna face so much hostility doing these things, that you really intercede. Intercede, because the devil's temptation is going to be to get you to be in the, like, they harden up, so you harden up. I'm throwing accusations, and that's why 1 Corinthians 6, Paul is saying, especially even if he's an ignorant brother right now, he's going to church. It's like, why not be wrong? Look at Jesus. It's like, he didn't do anything wrong, and he still allowed everybody to just take out all their wrath on him, stabbing him, beating him, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's why that wisdom of Solomon, taking it even the further step of just understanding, hey, all these judges, all the kings, all the presidents, everybody, there is a final eternal judgment where the king will not be slapped with righteousness. He will hold everybody accountable. And so that's why I think the mercy triumphs over judgment now, because if you can try to win them by your patience, by your endurance, by your gentleness, to realize, like, everybody that's not doing what God's will is actually enslaved to doing the devil's will, and he's not going anywhere good. So if they're following the devil and they're doing the works of the flesh, and they're getting frustrated at people because they're not loving their neighbor as themselves, like, they're in darkness. And so the best thing to do is to try to unhinge them, and it is the biggest thing the Lord's been working on me, my mouth. So getting to the point where, like, being slow to speak, quick to listen, and really just hearing where people are, because I've had people do the same thing to me, where they're just trying to pound something into me, and I'm like, I can't digest it that way. And the Lord, I know he judged me in that to help me feel the burden of just like, oh yeah, okay, I can't, like, if I'm doing that to, they might not be sheep, they might be goats, they might be other types of animals, spiritually speaking, but anyway, just being, the Lord's kind to all. Kind, is generous to everybody, and I think the more that we're becoming more like our Father, more like our Lord, we're going to imitate the things that he's doing, which is, we can use your mouth to confront hypocrisy where there's definite hypocrisy and people aren't going to like that. But ultimately, I think, especially, like, if you do go into jails, take it as an opportunity. Just, like, really seek the Lord and seek what the Lord's will is, because if he's brought you into that situation, he's there to help you encourage the people that are maybe totally profane, totally rebels, totally doing things wrong, and your ability of being patient, gentle with them, and leading them back of, like, well, hey, even if people are doing evil things to you, because I hear that a lot. It's like, so-and-so told me accused me of this thing so much, and then I just went and did it. It's like, you still gotta not do the sin. Like, at the end of the day, you gotta not sin. Stop sinning. Like, be righteous, be gentle, try to endure whatever they're going to throw at you. And that's why even the situation at the Portsmouth courthouse, I realized, like, yeah, vengeance belongs to the Lord. You do whatever you can to win, and God's keeping track of it all. All his angels are keeping track. If you are truly coming with a heart of trying to win them, love, gentleness, like that reconciliation, and then they're still hardening their heart, still being forceful and evil towards you, then again, vengeance belongs to the Lord. He's not going to be slack with that. But at the same time, like, he doesn't want to execute vengeance on anyone, as no one good would.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to use the sword. I'd rather speak to you face to face.
Yeah.
Get things settled in a civil way.
Yeah, de-escalation works wonders.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna head over to the courthouse.
Okay.
It was nice meeting you,
Yeah,
Peter, right?
Peter, yeah. And you're Sean?
Sean Reyes. That's
Reyes?
right. Yep, Sean Reyes.
How do you spell that?
Reyes.
Sweet. And
Yeah,
Long Island
and
Audit?
Long Island Audit.
Cool.
Check it out.
Okay.
Some good stuff.
Is
on
that the best way to get it?
You could. The best way to get a hold of me is my email, longislandaudit@gmail.com. That's the best way. For sure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure running into you.
All right. Nice meeting you, Peter.
Yeah,
God
great
bless
to see you. Take care.